weeks. One of the things we have to remember is thoughts are things. Thoughts are real things. One of the things we talked about is Muslim cultural development and replacement. At this time, we are urging youth to actively cultivate and create a viable, popular Muslim counterculture, incorporating such elements of the arts as halal, message, music. There's a global cultural void that must be filled. Historical trends show that the cultures of the oppressed always rise in popularity and prominence. Let us place Islam and Muslims into a trend-setting position. We can gradually raise the consciousness of the general society, bringing attention to real-life issues, immigration, profiling, FBI and CIA criminal activities, Palestine, targeted killings, drones, invasion, 1% versus the 99%, Islamophobia, etc., and share a powerful message of optimism, global transformation, and a positive vision of the future. Automatically, as let's just say as African Americans, we've always been involved in freedom songs and liberation songs. From the time of slavery, go down Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. We related directly to this pharaonic system and the Pharaoh of the Bible. And the way the people were treated then is the same way we have been treated. So, wade in the water, all of that stuff was music coming up through Reconstruction and black national anthems and James Weldon Johnson and all those people. Freedom songs of the 60s were always very popular. And later on, we got Curtis Mayfield, People Get Ready, and moving on up, and We People Who Are Darker Than Blue. Then when rapping came in, we always incorporated some liberation and some historical cultural aspects in the rap style and in the music. But we became too powerful and too strong in that genre, so therefore the Zionists took it over and they started fitna with East Coast rappers, West Coast rappers, common divide, conquer, and rule. And then pretty soon the rap music changed. Kill that nigga, do this, do that. It was unbelievable how fast they called it gangster rap. First it was liberation rap, people, and all of a sudden now it's love your people rap, and now it's hate your people and kill your people. That means that there's always a constant awareness of those physical and cultural and psychological things that are happening in our community. And most of the time, they're going to try to control those aspects of our life and use the positive things against us. So that's why Muslim cultural development and replacement is stating that our youth, that means, when I say our youth, that means the Muslim youth and the conscious youth should make a type of music, a type of cultural relationship with itself that will catch on. Because if you look in history, the culture of the oppressed is always the one that catch on. Like if it's white boys, it was that old crazy rock music, right? It caught on. It's the underclass. If you look at black people, our movie, our stuff, whether it's jazz or whatever it was, always captured the imagination of the people. And even with this international music, which is African and Asian, it's Europeans trying to find a place and something new. And that's why people always seek out the oppressed, because music and poetry either expresses serious love and concern in interpersonal relationships, historical pictures, and what have you. And when you hear it, it reminds you of a time, of an era. In fact, all of us, when we hear a certain song, bam, we can go right back to that period, what we was doing, and you can do it over and over again. And even as old as I am, if I hear something that I haven't heard in 50 years, I can almost finish it. Just about finish, yeah, just, why? Because it's ingrained in us. Now we can use that aspect, cultural replacement. In other words, we can give the public an alternative to this nonsense that they're listening. Can you imagine the stuff they listen to? It's criminal, okay? So this is not the time for us to point the finger, that's criminal, that's crap. No, this is time to replace, right? Now, at first, it don't have to be good. Whether it's, when you start off, you improve as you go. Whether it's things like rapping, music making, movie making, right? You start off just making stuff. You get going and you improve as you go. This is a constant reality. So this Muslim cultural development and replacement mean that we should interfere with the trends of society and offer the people an alternative. Okay, but we're always saying we, but look, you have to be realistic. How many of our people are talking about this stuff? It's the simplest thing, but our people are not, and they got the roster, they could talk, they talking to thousands and hundreds of thousands of immigrants' children, and you can mix them. And remember how deep this cultural thing is. Some are Palestinian, some are Arab speaking, some are Iranian, some are every different kind of people. And then there's us, right? And you got every kind of people, Jamaicans, all the people are part of Islam. Now, I want you to imagine that type of message music, how it's going to sound. All they got to do is start doing it. It doesn't make any difference. It may just, you may put your hands over your ears at first, but eventually it's going to develop. And eventually, white folks are going to make a big discovery. This genre is all new. It has, and so-and-so, you know, so-and-so has that dynamic cultural expression that brings us all alive, all that jive. That's the way they talk. Why don't we use it? It's not going to cost us anything. I'm not going to say our people are asleep, but you'll get that idea as you go along. So here we are. This is our job, to help develop this. In this historical review, we have to look at the world we're living in, and if I was a white boy, I would say, man, the system is freaking out. Have you been watching the news lately and listening? the white folks are saying, because now this is 155, 160,000 people dying. This is getting real. They start, wait a minute, boss. I don't know, hey man, what's wrong with you? And then he getting up there talking about, oh, we're doing fine, shoot, we got. And the man is good. He's wonderful. But he's not leading the country correctly. And all the prestige that America had, they just said on the news a little while, is this the America that you visualized? They said, no, this is not. And you can ask anybody else from overseas, is this the America? This America has the worst record. It has the worst behavior. I mean, and it's abominable what's going on. It ain't, and they looking at this saying, man, what's wrong with this picture? They're really, and every day see it get bigger when it's down at 10,000 or something like that. That's no big deal. But now it's big, and it's not flattening out, leveling off, or backing up. Wherever it level off one place, and this is, the white folks said this is the first go-round. This is not the second go-round. When they sent everybody out in the street to party a month or so ago, that's what brought this back. This is still in the first go-round. This is not the second go-round, Some of the other countries seem to be drifting into their second stage, but America is still in its first stage. Amen. You could see in the news, you see every day, there's a blast in Iran, there's another blast in Iran, right? There's a blast today in Lebanon, right? There's the American plane following the passenger plane, you know what I mean, Mahan Air and all that. What does that mean? That means that they panicked. They in a panic. They're saying, hey man, they probably looking at it, hey, our homeboy ain't got a chance to win second election, so we better get busy fast. Now our people have to relax. They have to remember, you choose when you fight. You don't lose nothing by waiting. So they're trying to press the Iranians and the Lebanese, to get busy. No, they should relax. They should relax. Now, if they have an election and the right team don't get in, then they got everything laid out. They take care of it. I'm not saying they should, but that's what they might do. They have alternatives. Because see, people don't have a right to do them the way they doing. Like the way the government treat us, they don't have a right to do that. I got a right to get in my car and it drives around the corner, and if something happened a month later, okay, I take it to the shop. But I got a right to get in my cars and not zooting and can't get around the corner in all of them. That's ridiculous. So they don't have a right to do that. Okay, we ain't gonna jump up and down about it because we expected that. So, this is a time for us to stretch the focus and optimism for a designed future. Now, I know this is repetitive, but a designed future is just like writing the book that you want to read. We can't go over that too much because that's the slogan that we're pushing toward. So design destiny and the process of global transformation. Number 3 is the earth liberation. Earth liberation. Now, that makes us a little unique too, because although we are, let's say, a political, social, religious, transformational movement, we are also an earth liberation movement. Why? Because all of it has to work together. If you liberate black people today or you liberate Latinos, you still got global warming They got fires out there burning up the whole world in California. So we have to rearrange, we have to fix the whole world in which we live in. So it's earth liberation. And we always talk a lot about utopian thinking. But for us, utopian thinking is not a heavenly place or a perfect Shangri-La type place. It's a good place. Say the earth where it's 80% good, something like that. And you have to work on the rest. But we live in a world that's maybe 20% good and 80% bad, right? So we want to change the dynamics, the balance. And that's what we're working towards. So it's earth liberation. And this utopian thinking is just thinking and believing, because there's thoughts of things. That means this stuff is really possible. And our job, because As-Sabiqun, they go out first. They are those who lead the way. They are those who show the way. Now, there's a difference right in those two words. Those who lead the way, that means they take them to the place. Those that show them the way, they pointing out this way you ought to go. So we're right in that right now. We're pointing the way. This is where you ought to be going. So we're pointing the way, right? At another time, during our process of evolution, we may evolve to the point that where we're structured, we're organized, and we have the resources, the wherewithal, and we can lead the people to a certain place. Right now, those who show the way, we're pointing out this is where we could be going. We're showing that this is a good place to go, that this is reasonable, this makes sense, right? So this, it's possible, but it's also necessary. It's necessary. I'm not a coward or anything like that, but I feel uncomfortable listening to the news when it said Greenland is shrinking, and you know what I mean? Because we don't have no power right now to do anything about it. So we're already working on our part, so I would rather not hear it. It's just like our people in Palestine are so oppressed that I'll not avoid Palestinian news, but I absorb enough, to keep going forward. But it's so brutal and so constant that I already know what this, Yeah. So this earth liberation is what we're involved in. That's not only liberating the earth, but liberating the people on the earth, because the people is the one that's causing the reality that we have. The other animals are not doing this. This is the human being. So we have to fix the human being in order to fix the earth. Now this is where this Tazkiyah bil Nafs come in. As we research all of our movements in the past, it's all very clear. It's very, very clear that when I was watching the movie the other night, Panther, we've been knowing everything. They had a 10-point program. But they gave Negroes right off the street the 10-point program, decolonization, get the white man out of our neighborhoods, and the occupying army, all of that. Okay, but they didn't have any ethics in there. The 10-point program had no ethics or morals. So the Negro acted off of what he was. He was colored, and he saw there's no problem with me acting colored, because that's what I am, right? So one of the big meetings in Oakland, I was listening on the radio years ago, and the lady said I went to pick up so-and-so, and he chased me around the room. When I got to the door, and knocked on the door. He opened the door naked, and he chased me around the room for a half an hour. And there's a big political meeting getting ready to happen. And he didn't think nothing of it. And technically, she didn't think, because this is what, Negroes do. That was their behavior. So purification of the nafs without a strong ethics. That's why I appreciate Allah giving us the opportunity to go over this stuff over and over and over again, so people will get the idea. You notice we don't go straying way over here or way over there. We usually got 5, 6, maybe 7 basic focuses, and that's where we stay, because we're focused on those things that are necessary to make a new world. So it's earth liberation. But in order to liberate the earth, you have to liberate the human being. And that comes with tazkiyah bil nafs. I wrote an article in 2002 for a seminar we had here, and it had stuff like somewhere over the rainbow, and the people was kind of, man, Imam Musa is stretching out. But I was just telling them, I don't know if you ever read the articles, but no, it's like we're in a new dispensation. And somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, the land that I heard of, something once in a lullaby. Well, this is dreamland stuff. You know what I mean? It's not, you're dealing with the whole system, and you want to influence the system, and you want to influence the people, and the whole people and the system are being misled by the same entity, right? And they're organized, and they have everything in their corner. But this is where belief comes in. This is where belief, and this is where confidence in your belief and confidence in yourself. Some of my family, they was talking, and I was telling them, I said, no, I'm not arrogant. I'm confident. Because some of the things we say, it sounds, hey, man, if we say beyond Malcolm, that we have to evolve beyond Malcolm. Okay, the hadith say those of you who were dynamite in the dunya will be dynamite in the religion, in the deen, once they get knowledge of their religion. Okay, so if you analyze our progress, we were back in the 60s. If Malcolm was martyred in 65, when we started doing what we was doing in 68, we had already caught up with Malcolm because we were implementing black nationalism. Everything he had talked about, that's what we was doing with our knowledge. You see what I mean? We implemented at our time. The other thing is we always talk about records are made to be broken. When we was running track and stuff, Jesse Owens' record, 9.6 and 100 yards dash, was big. It's what he won in the Olympics. Kids in high school do that. They used to have a 4-minute mile that nobody had broke the 4-minute mile. Once the guy broke it, it was 43 people broke it within a short period of time. Why? Because the barrier, right? A 4-minute mile. That's impossible. They drug people behind horses trying to make them run it in 4 minutes. But now, everybody, they run a 4-minute, a 4-point-something minute mile now in a 26-mile marathon. That everybody, the ones that's going to win, they're running a 4.5-minute mile for 26 miles, not no 1 mile, right? Not no up and down the street, or not no Hey, man, that's the thing about progress, about development. Records are made to be broken. In weightlifting and bodybuilding and all of that, those records are made to be broken. And people was thinking, oh, if we said we was out in front of King or Malcolm, they came along in the 1960s. We were there too. We heard what they said. Okay. They didn't get a chance to implement it, but we implemented it during that, right after their period. When we got started on that in Oakland, Dr. King was still alive. In '68, that's when everything jumped off. It jumped off in '66 and before, but I mean really like, hey, this is happening. Okay. So we had a chance to implement that. But there are people, they get heroes and they feel, who are you to say that you are of that caliber? Well, we would have to be that caliber because the game is elevated. You know, if you drive a '68 Cadillac, those things have a 472, some of them have 500 cubic inches. They got a 4-barrel carburetor. They get 11 miles a gallon. In the city, on the highway, they get 7, 8, or 9 miles in the city. They have a 4-barrel carburetor. Okay, if we drove that now, we would be. It wouldn't be the speed limits, whether it's cars, whether it's technology, whatever it is, right? You evolve. Okay. What people have been doing is they choose special people and they raise them up and they make them icons, and then it's like they're non-approachable. That means if they raise them up, they don't have to do anything. They just raise them up. That is the saddest thing. That's what's going on with Malcolm and King. Do you notice the news, how before this Black Lives Matter, how they kept trying to take us back instead of going into a new world, they kept taking us back to John Lewis and them, the Pettus Bridge, right? The March on Washington. They kept us back there. They didn't keep us, but everybody else, they stayed back there, right? Okay, so today, this is science fiction stuff. This is, everything is moving quicker, bigger. Okay, we have to evolve ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve. If we stayed back there, everything that they do to people, they would do to us. It would be, they could just get away with it. Okay, so earth liberation, utopian thinking. It's possible, but not only is it possible. See, in goal setting and all that thing, that type of thing, that's the first thing that you have to deal with, is to believe it's possible. If you don't believe that it's possible, you won't do it because it's impossible, right? And people are doing the impossible every day. It is impossible to somebody do it. It's impossible till somebody do it. Okay, so now the world in which we live in, can you imagine where we are, let's say, in the last few years, what we've been talking about, and where Boss Man is at? Almost, you might think that we don't have to do a whole lot. All we got to do is stay where we're at, and Boss Man is coming down. Look at it, though. Tell the truth. He's coming down so fast. He's coming down so fast that eventually people will look around for an alternative, and there will be. That's why we have to have good ideas and confidence and have thought this stuff out, so when people come to us, we have a realistic solution. You see what I mean? We're not conspiracy theorists. We're not this. No, this is what we could do. Just visualize the world you want to live in. Just picture it in your mind. Okay, don't worry about how you're going to get there. First, you picture it. And then, in goal setting and all that, they talk about self-esteem, self-image psychology, all of that. How you see yourself. If you don't see yourself winning, you're not going to win. You just can't win. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you don't have to worry. If you think you can't, you'll find a reason to fall down in the ring. Right? The guy will throw a punch by you in the wind and knock you out. You lay down and say it's all over because it's what you was thinking about. Okay. So part of our job is to do like what we're doing, to be a voice for possibility thinking. Because we're on the threshold. We're on the threshold of a breakthrough. It's clear that we're on the threshold of a whole new transition. No, not a whole. It's already happening. I was trying to explain to some people about living in the now. That means like, I show you pictures of in the 60s and that. I said, I was living in the now. I knew black people are making changes. I said, but black people didn't go around them hippies, and that's why they was never, complete. We always knew that they're human beings too. They're just nice white kids that they don't want to do what their parents told them. They don't want any more wars, right? They don't have the exact thing that they need to do, make love, not war, and they're trying to do that stuff. But those people had something in their mind. And their boss man came with his vision, and he blew them away. He blew them away just like he blew us away. So boss man is cantankerous. So limitless dreams, unrestrained, unjustifiable optimism. That means if you take out a scale and weigh it and you said, do you have enough justification on this side to be optimistic on that side? If it's physical, you don't. Because the whole thing is against you. But unrestrained optimism, unjustifiable optimism, that's our position. In other words, we don't have to have a whole line of corrections and statements and what to prove our unreasonable justification. What we have, though, is history, scriptural history and history from the masses. There have been people who have rose to prominence and challenged other systems over and over and over again. And they wasn't supposed to do it. They wasn't supposed to do it. Okay, they didn't have the wherewithal to do it. They didn't have the credentials to do it. That's why Muhammad Ali was so, he was whooping people. He'd tell them, I told you I was going to do this. I told you. They said, even Sonny Liston said, that boy really can fight. He really can fight. He's just not a big mouth, Tazkiyah bin Nas. Tazkiyah bin Nas is like in human potential. Potential is something that's potent, something that's powerful, but it has not become yet. A seed is full of potential. But you got to put that seed in the proper environment, right? You got to water it. You got to make sure that it's cultured correctly, and the potential in that seed will develop. Mathematically certain, If you put out 100 seeds, 90 of them will develop, So that's good enough. If they're placed in the proper environment, if they're nourished and if they're cared for. So if our ideas are nourished and cared for and developed, right, and guided, we can do anything we want. So limitless, unrestrained vision, unjustifiable optimism. As we said, potential is something that's powerful, is potent, but it hasn't yet developed yet. It has the ability to become. Okay, we always talk about Star Trek. Star Trek is when they, we always, believe it or not, you ever heard of Trekkies? Technically, just between me and you. And I had a gangster office. I'm talking about plush carpet. I had a skylight where the light can come in from the outside. Yeah, and my office and everything. And I'd be in there at 4 o'clock watching Star Trek. Yeah, because they came out in 65, 64 and 65 and 66. Shoot, I was watching them reruns. I don't know why, I just liked them. So technically, I never had a Star Trek hat and all that, like the white folks. No, I never had none of that. I didn't play that. But I would be classified as a Trekkie, okay? Because it talked about new worlds and possibilities. And that's why I always said, we got to Star Trek them. We got to go beyond. And that's not only for us. Every time in history when humanity came to a certain barrier, they had to outgrow that barrier. They just had to. Or they would stay either in slavery, or they would stay misled, or they would stay under communism or socialism or ooga-boogaism, whatever it was. But they came to not necessarily a crossroads, but they came to a barrier. And that barrier was a historical barrier. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to go over the barrier, under the barrier, around the barrier, or even through it. But you have to evolve, or you stay back where you was. And that's the only thing that we're working on. So remember, As-Sabiqun, those who show the way. But As-Sabiqun are also those who lead the way. I would say right now we're in a position of those who show the way. I'll just repeat that again. Those who show the way. As we get structured and organized and more developed, and we have movie making capability, and we do our classes like Department of Strategic and Islamic Studies and all of that, okay, at that time we will begin to lead the way. But right now, we're doing our job by pointing the way, by telling the people, this is possible, man. This is very possible. Okay. Oppression expands or contracts your vision. In our case, it expands, improves direction to complete transformation. What that means is when you come in contact with all this stuff, like what we come in contact with, it expands your horizon. You get smarter. You get sharper, okay. So it enhances, it expands your vision. It don't contract, it don't shrink your vision. So it improves our direction. Complete transformation. Not reform, of global system. Not partial, but complete transformation. See, people, they want to improve the situation. You know, during Obama's administration, he used to come up, he could feel that China was overtaking him. And he'd come up and he'd say, we're still number one. I don't know if y'all remember that. He would say, we're still number one. Well, by that time, he could smell it that he wasn't number one now, by then. And definitely not now. But the thing I would like to say is, America could be number one again. But how? Like in the old days, that stuff they had about democracy and all that, this was a big lie. We've never seen it. But it captured the imagination of the world. Now, if America want to be number one, they have to go into a field like we do that nobody is prepared to go all the way. And they could lead the way. America could jump into environmentalism. I mean, big time. No more fossil fuels, no more this, that, and other. And I mean, be buckling down tight. They could lead that because all the engineering, all that technology would be put into that, right? So other people would have 20% of their stuff into that. China may have 30 or 40%. But if America went into that all the way, they could be number one again. If they only concerned about being number one, they could be number one in leading the world. But remember, leading the world to that balanced creationism, earth liberation, and all of that. They'd have to really, now you got to remember, there's a percentage of the people that want that. So we're not just shouting in the dark now. There's enough Negroes, even white folks, and everything else that are saying, hey, this ain't, we got to do better. I just heard on the radio a few minutes ago, they asked the white lady, is this the picture of America that you had been harboring? She said, absolutely not. Just regular public radio. That's a station this. If you want to see where white folks is at, I mean middle American white folks, see, I study it. Although actually, I learned from the doggone thing. You know, you're learning about certain history, certain this and that, because I can tell when they lying and telling the truth, that I actually learned from it, because I listened to it, and then I could tell when they're getting ready to mislead people too, by that station. Why? Because they set the people up this way. They've been doing it all the time. So you could tell, I could listen to NPR. I don't have to listen to all the, most of the years, my earlier, before Press TV, before this, that, and other, I studied them, and I was out in the future on them. Why? Because you get used to them, and you know, oh, they just told the white folks this, they told the white folks that, they're getting ready to do this. It's simple. I mean, because those are the people that the system is, that's middle liberal America like, right? And if you want to see a white folk station, you just look at NPR. That's right. That's middle of the road white people. So, but not only do you know what they're going to do, you get ideas about what to say to them. Yeah, what to say to them. How to say it, right? You know how far to go, and you know what to hold back on, what to push forward on. You know how to go far, how deep in the conspiracy, or just make a few statements and pull back because you don't want to run them off, right? I'm telling you, hey, our people don't pay attention to their environment. Huh? No, they don't pay attention to what's going on. But it's right there. You know, I don't even have to listen to, I was talking to the kids yesterday. They said, was talking about China. I said, well, the Chinese are doing this to the Muslims. I say, if the Muslims and sign a new thing with Iran and sign a new thing, I say, and on the Belt and Road, I said, it's not only Egypt, but all, I said, they got tons of Arabs going to one of the minority Muslim places in China. I said, who said China, the Chinese is doing this to the Muslims? Said they set the Chinamans up. They had a few Saudis come in there and talk about taking over and this, that, and other. And so the Chinamans said, oh, no, we don't do that here, right? And so they overplayed their hand a little bit. They overplayed their hand. But, hey, anyway, the environment, we have to be able to read our environment. That's just yep. In our case, it expands, it improves the direction to complete our transformation. In other words, our contact with the system either will cause you to be oppressed or it will cause you to expand and grow and develop. So this goes back to like if you're playing a certain part in life, sometime that part, other people may look at it and say, that is bad, that's terrible. But if you was raised for that, it's not terrible. It's good. I was looking at Chechnya years ago. You know, they'd be out there, they'd be up there, they'd be so cold. Some of them would have almost clogs. It's like when I was in Denmark, you know, the Danish wear them clogs. It's freezing to death. And I used to live in Roskilde, that's the city of the kings, 20 miles outside of Copenhagen. So I would leave my house and I would walk to the train station. Let's call it a train station. And I saw they had baby carriages. Everybody had a baby, right? They bundled the baby up and they set them outside in that freezing cold. I said, man. But then I realized, no wonder white folks can stand the cold. They bundled a little baby up, and they, you know, the baby had a little thing, and they all just, they not, boy, this is cold out here. They're not doing that. Then I saw the construction workers. They'd have clogs, you know, with the back out in the freezing cold. I said, boy, but that's their environment. You see what I mean? Negroes are freeze to death. No, when I see the people in Chechnya, you know how the Negro is with cold. And then you read the temperature and you see them fighting and all the houses is bombed out and everything. And that's where they staying in that Russian winter. I say, I like, you know, like, that's what make you like boss man. Because you like, you know, would nobody want this job? They wouldn't want it. Palestinians, nobody. They wouldn't want it. We love it. It's wonderful. Because this is what we're made for. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to be, man, in Palestine with them Yahudis beating people upside the head, bulldozing their house. You open a house and then they bulldoze it. You build another one and they cut your water off. Man, that, but we honor them for that. They wouldn't want to do this job. In fact, if they got here, they wouldn't be talking a whole lot about Palestine because most of them is here, right? That are from Palestine, they didn't quiet it down a little bit. They didn't actually quiet it down. You know, Allah knows best why, but anyway, we haven't quieted down about boss man here, and we're not going to quiet down because this is the job we was trained for. Okay, so we'll speed up. We say this dream is old as history. It's evolutionary dream, environmental dream, historical dream. This visualization of a perfect society, people have always thought and dreamed about a good world, you know, in their time, whatever it was, okay. But now we can think about with all the labor-saving devices and all of that, hey, man, we could live in a world where you have to design your daily schedule where you do some work yourself because it's healthy for you. You know, you like to, the human being likes to do something. He likes to make something, said, oh, that's all right. So he have to train himself nowadays, or we have to have a system that allow us to experiment for 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day. Or if you really like it, you could do it all day long. Because when you're doing what you want to do, you know, it's not, we can do all of that. So this dream is as old as history. Even the word utopia itself comes from the Greek. It doesn't mean a paradise. It just means good place. It just means good place. That's all. Okay. Special event, main event. As-Sabiqun, longevity, survival, endurance, adaptability, stickability, and bounceability. Boy, that's the ability to bounce back. I'm telling you. I used to study people. I've always studied life and our people. And I used to see big Negroes. They be big, you know what I mean? And then something happened, and they go down a little bit. Sometimes they come right back, you know what I mean? And they go through that cycle. And after a while, they lose elasticity. They don't bounce back anymore, you know. And I used to study that. What was the reason for that, you know? Is it the system, you know what I mean, messing with them? And you can see that. Or what is the reason that we don't bounce back over and over again? And so when we saw our life, that's the way we look at our life. That's why our favorite thing is a setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. Why? Because we're always doing comebacks. Remember I was saying we was in 67, 68, we was having kind of a rest, a little petty retirement. That was to get a feel for what, I know what it is now. I didn't know exactly what it was then. It was stuff popping up over here, popping up over there. So let me pull back and look at all of this. So after I got a good look at it, and then I got all that vision, I said, let's go. I didn't know what visionary was, but that's exactly what I had, a vision of Negroes, long, pretty cars, red ones, pink ones, green ones, pulling off from, oh, I didn't have those colors. That's kind of not clownish, but you know what I mean? You just seeing all them limousines, man, pulling off from your businesses, and you don't have no businesses there. Then in a certain amount of time, there they are, exactly like you was visualizing. And there was another thing that it was 4 brothers that was, it was more than 4, but it was 4 there about the same age doing a certain thing. The Ward brothers was doing about the same thing in Oakland. They was popular. They was all right. So I said to myself as I'm making a comeback, man, if I had 4 brothers doing what I'm doing, man, we knocked this thing over. And I remember when it come to me, I was opening the refrigerator. It must have been the refrigerator got revelation. It said, "Oh, niggas is your brothers." That was it. I don't need 4 physical brothers. All them niggas out there is your brothers, right? It wasn't a mud or two. I just picked it up and ran with it, and that was it. It was a few kernels of reality, and all the other good stuff go with it. Like we say, you have a chance to look at, okay, that Black Panther stuff, like I showed you pictures. I said, all of my homeboys is getting burned. They're just like that. So I just fooled a white man. Within a year's time, you saw me with white stuff on, because that's what, as long as a nigga doing that, he ain't thinking about nothing, right? That's what they gave me the dope bag for, was to live like that, to do like that, and forget all them niggas, right? Just get yourself some money. It wasn't until the white man looked up and he said, "This nigga done made everybody rich." And they rolled in on the brother. I said, boy, this old white man is mean. You know, and remember, you're young. I just said, I'm leaving, boss man. I said, you're just a little too mean for me. But nobody else would leave. When I would travel around the world, I wouldn't find no African-American gangsters that got cases like I had and left. They wouldn't leave. They'd stay right here and go right to penitentiary. Hey, so anyway, it's the same thing right now. The stages before, we had several stages before. Masjid al-Islam clears the air in 1986. Okay, we're making a comeback that time. We do da-da-da-da. When we come here, they load us up with all the tattletales and everything, and then we said, now we're going to move. And we're going to incorporate the people into, and so we get to rolling. And whether it's a school, whether it was all the masajid, everything, that's fine. That's why when they pulled them back, you never saw me running out, "Oh, don't leave," because they was going to leave all the time. And we knew it. So what we have to do? We have to use what we have at that time. So nobody can say, oh, if we can have 10 masajid at one time and they all packed with people, so how you can say we don't know nothing about management and organization, right? How can we run the best school in town? And they did a good job. They did a good job because, first of all, they liked all the kids. Most of the kids was theirs. That was one of the things. But they were just average teachers, but they had their own environment. And the kids liked school. You remember that? They liked, I'd be saying, y'all got to go on home because of the heat. Long as y'all stay here. I wouldn't say that, of course. So this doggone heater, you know, they can't count anyway. And I wouldn't run them out. But they love to just hang around. They hang around. The school is out. The environment solves the problem. If you like being where you are, we have a little study just on the side. We just study a little and da-da-da-da, because you like where you are. So that was a period. We took advantage of that period. We took advantage of that period. We expected that period. Okay, the same thing like right now. We've evolved into a new stage. Okay, the first stage may be like As-Sabiqun, those who show the way. We said that this is the third time. So this is what we're doing. We're showing the way. But as we get structured and get organized and get disciplined and get refocused, then we'll transfer from those who lead the way. Because it says both. Those who lead the way and those who show the way. We're taking it the way that we can digest it. Right now, we're showing the people the way, we're speaking about it, and inshallah, they'll be able to deal with it. Now, later on, as we're structured, as we're organized, as we develop a new set of institutions, right? As we develop our movie-making ability, as we develop our cultural development. This time we may even get into agricultural, except it won't be 40 or 100 miles away. We may have to go way out of the country now, because the country is not right across the street anymore. But what the heck? No, man, I go up to Philadelphia. We can go across that bridge over there. When you get across that bridge, that turns into agriculture. So we could get a nice spot out there, you know. Develop our housing right here. All of that stuff goes with the stage. It's not an extra added on, it just goes with it. We almost don't count it because that's a part of the stage that we're in. Been here before many times. Anticipation. We've always talked about anticipation. Anticipation and expectation. When you can anticipate somebody, hey, you can just about do what you want to do. The era of kindness, gratefulness, and optimism. Okay, Islamic Republic, we'll go by that. USA, assisting in its own decline. If anybody heard the news the last few days, this boy, okay, going down 2 weeks ago was one thing, but do you see the white folks now? They getting panicked. They said, man, wait a minute, what's wrong with? I mean, they hollering on it. They said, man, there's too many people dying. What is wrong? They rally like, you know, hey, man, they're serious. And Don get right up there and say, we've been doing a good job. And if you want testing, you can get. They said, testing? This man must be eating mushrooms or something. You know, magic mushrooms, psilocybin. I said, this boy is eating mushrooms or something. He got to be gone. 60,000 people dead. And that's just what they say. Dead, real dead people. That they're not coming back. They're not coming back. Those people won't be back. Hey, man, as the white boy would say, these white folks is freaking out. Okay, but remember, I know I've said this before. As they're coming down, technically we could just stay where we are and they'll be down with us pretty soon. We'll be an alternative picture soon. Because they're not saying, you know what I mean? It ain't nobody that just grabbed it and said, let's do this. You know, let's do this. Okay? So we've crossed all the rivers, dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. We've done all of that. We've done that in our behavior and our attitude, and the Quran, all the ayats that will be their wali and hamimun, warm and fuzzy friends. All of that is real. And see, it may not have been our job to do that. It may have been just like Ibrahim, just get ready to sacrifice your Ibrahim. And if you're ready to do it, you don't have to go out and rescue all the white folks. You know what I mean? That may be the way it looks like it happens like that sometime. But anyway, yeah. So, assisting in its own decline. Good God Almighty. I mean, it's not assisting, it's guaranteeing, you know what I mean? It's at the back pushing itself off the cliff. It's really unbelievable. But you know, that's the way history is. All the people ask, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And the Quran says they had plans, they had schemes. They got schemes to pull out of this, but it ain't working. Okay, never forget, archivists, documentalists, chroniclers, historian, but educators, trainers, to train people in what? Willpower, strong-mindedness, fortitude, self-control, self-command, self-mastery, self-government, tenaciousness, the ability to just hold on. They did some survey during World War II, you know, when they was going over to Europe. They was, the Germans was sinking all these, the U-boats was sinking all these merchant ships. And when they was picking people up, they got so many people, you know, on them lifeboats, they found that most of the people were older. But, well, wait a minute, they were saying, well, why wouldn't the young guy got everything to live for? He got, you know what I mean? He got all the strength to hold on, but he never been through nothing like that before. The old people, they just got through the Depression. It was bitter for everybody. It was tragic. It was terrible, but they lived through it. So they learned something. All you got to do, when they find them, they'd have their arm on the thing. They'd just be just locked on. That's where they'd find them all the time. They'd just be locked on. That's all it was. They just holding on. And the young people had not learned that lesson. So they would let their arm go and slide off in the water because it was all new to them. No, so age has a lot of beauty to it. It has that long range ability to, like we always talk about, that long range, you know what I mean, protracted, way out there, you know. Other young people want a quick fix. They want to beat up the white man or beat up the nigger, something like that, and then it's all fixed. It just don't go like that. But a protracted struggle. Anyway, we'll speed up a little bit. So from the very beginning, we knew that this is what we were going to be doing. We were going to be the archives. We're going to be the go-to place to get all of this information. That's what we are now. The people can go and look at our CDs, DVDs, and they can get those old As-Sabiquns, print them out, and they'll have a real picture, you know what I mean, of what's going on. Now imagine the new ones that we will be doing. We'll be doing them soon as we get the staff to type them out and write them out. We got them halfway written, you know. All we have to do is, you know, move stuff around a little bit. And we got tons of literature. We got tons of CDs and DVDs. Purposefulness, perseverance, endurance, durability, unbreakable, that's what it is. Durability is just wearable, it's usable, you know. Yep. We always use the word every now and then, but they don't use it for Negroes much. Gallant. You know, the Tuskegee Airmen was gallant. That was gallantry. They sacrificed themselves so the white folks could go drop bombs on the Germans, right? That's gallantry. You don't ever see nobody talk about Negroes, they're gallant. They say that stuff for them. They say it for them. But see, I don't want to get back into the Negro. But we got to carry the ball for all of those Negroes, because everything that they thought they won, they done lost out on. We got Negro mayors, Congress people, boy, coming out there, and then we done lost more than we ever had. Tell the truth. The black police sound just like the white police chief. Why? Because he's a police chief. He's got to uphold the system. If we could get enough numbers on the police, it may help a little bit. But that old idea, if we could just get more black police in the black neighborhoods, boy, they don't know what they're talking about. So I could make a difference. Yeah, make a difference. Yeah, I wanted to make a difference. After about 1 hour, he could realize, that difference. They dragging the Negroes in, beating them upside the head. And hey, man, right down there in D.C., hey, man, those U.S. Marshals, because the last time I was down there, man, the U.S. Marshals, little old white boy about this tall, man, they worked me over very good. And they had another sissy white boy, and the Negro Marshals was just watching. And I was looking at those educated kids. They probably graduated from Howard. They became marshals. They looked and they knew what it was, but they didn't make a move. They just didn't make a move. One of them would stop by and look in the cell and, stuff like that. But they couldn't, they wouldn't. They just wouldn't. Yep. We are leading a successful challenge to the Zionist American establishment. Yes, we are. Okay. Property will be used as a diversion. We're not going to allow our property to be used as a diversion for us. What do I mean? We believe in what you send ahead other than what you leave behind. They try to act so much and so silly, and they're trying to get me the idea, nobody cares about what you're doing, da-da-da-da-da. I was like, I don't care whether they care or not. And see, they figure if they can get you to where you don't want to leave nothing behind, because you figure they're going to mess it up, eventually. So you'll stop. We ain't going to do that, because the Quran keeps pointing ahead. It ain't what you leave behind, it's what you send ahead. So it's like the lady, we had a relative up in Philadelphia, she was 96 years old. When she died, they said at the church they wanted 2 of her great nieces to sing. And they was telling the story. They said, we told her, Auntie, we can't sing. He said, I don't care, I'll be dead. I won't be able to hear you. Right? So, you'll be judged for what you do while you walk up and around. But after you leave, Dr. Allah, the Isa, so what was it you tell anybody? He said, oh, absolutely not. While I was with him, I told him about you. When I left, I ain't had nothing to do with him, right? Whatever they said about me, I'm the son of God and all that, I ain't said, you don't have to, of course, we know Allah knows, but it's always sometimes presented as a conversation. Shoot. Psychodegradable, psychocomposting, self-definition. Fitna to long-range fertilizer. Psychocomposting, we always talk about that. Psychocomposting, repackaging every encounter and making fertilizer about it. In other words, use their SHIT as fertilizer. That means you never, I don't want this to happen. See, that's what people will do. It's automatic. Man, I hope they don't do this. I hope they don't. We don't do that. Whatever you want to do, boss man, go ahead. You know, like right now, alhamdulillah, it's fine. But I went to pick up my medicine the other day, yesterday, and a lady said, do you want a flu shot, not a flu shot, a pneumonia shot, and do you want a shingles shot, and do you want something, whatever the heck it was, 3 shots. And I never had any of those. A tetanus shot. I had a tetanus shot 40 or 50 years ago when I went overseas, and you had to get one of them vaccine cards if you was going to Tanzania or something. But I hadn't had one since. So I said, okay, I'll take it. So they gave me these 3 shots. So I asked the young lady, I said, now you sure I'm not going to go outside the door and fall out? You know what I mean? But see, boss man will give you these 30-day shots that it'll knock you'll be, because all day I started to call and say, hey man, I can't make it today. Remember I used to call sometime? Because the boss man would be putting stuff, you know what I mean? I'd be cheered up and ready to go. Then all of a sudden I can't hardly hold my head up. Well, no, this is a different time. That's why I'm here today, because I said, oh no, we're going to do what we set out to do. So it don't make no difference how, well, the brother's a little tired. Boss man try to get you tired. Just think, I mean, he do it with your coffee. If you got a wonderful coffee, man, look at here. Boss man will mess with your coffee, because imagine you get up every morning juiced up and you got your special coffee that, I mean, you be high. Some of it, you know, not, since it's caffeine, it's okay. I mean, no, I be high. They don't like that. They got your whole family watching you, and they said, that nigga is high. You know, so we want to, they put slow down in it and all kind of stuff. But we're not going to, it's like when we was running in the hills in California, and my body was hurting so bad. I don't know if I ever told y'all, oh my goodness. I said, I'm going to be back up here tomorrow, and I'm going to run, and I'm going to keep on running. And when you say that, they drop it or leave it alone, because if you do that, you're going to have to master the technique of discipline, of going out there hurting and hurting. Pretty soon that develops certain things in you. So shoot, they let it go. They stopped in a hurry, you know. But with that being said, we have to have the ability to adjust our behavior to fit whatever boss man sent in our direction. Yeah, that's okay. That's what we say. We use the SHIT as fertilizer to enrich the soil, to make us better. To make us better. You know that you're going to become better, and you're not going to let anything that they do. So we got a whole new thing. Well, we're going to get up, we're going to do this. So what I'll do is, if I'm tired, like I'm tired now, I'll go back and lay down. You know, if I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll get busy. If I get tired at 7, 8 o'clock, I'll go to sleep. right? And I get up. So if they're going to play with me, I'll just, no problem. 24 hours in a day, right? I'm not going to argue with them. I just go to sleep when I feel like going to sleep. And when I wake up, I'll get right on, go right back to the list. Because everything I got to do, whether it's some work and that stuff, I can do anytime, right? I don't have to do it at a certain time. Or to be ready for a class, we're just ready for a class. Yeah. So that's adjustability. Property will be used as a diversion. They're not going to use property or nothing else as a diversion for it. We talked about psychoparalysis, trained hypnosis. The white man do think we didn't hypnotize him, no. And other people will start believing after a while because he sure is acting a fool. You know, and we'll add that into, yeah, we didn't just jinx the white man. Now, does Donald Trump act like he got a Louisiana jinx on him? He acts like he got a jinx on him. We take credit for that. Yeah, that's what we told you keep messing with us. He don't know. And they don't know. They really don't know. They get, you know, like you can get systems because you can almost hear him talking. Well, that nigger, we'll just finish him off. And somebody else saying, no, that nigger, hey, man, he's been too correct. And that may be bad for us. So we let it go a little while just to see, you know. Because they call it the martyrdom. You don't want to martyr the nigga because it'll get, and then everybody will listen to everything he said for the last 50 years, right? Then they'll know what he know. So they be trapped. Those are the things that we have to understand. You can trap boss man. Other people just don't have the nerve. You just trap boss man. Bump you boss man. That makes him mad, and when he gets mad, he don't make good decisions. Tell the truth. Nobody can make good decisions when he's mad. You black ass nigga, and the Zionist, good God Almighty. The Zionist is in a panic, like the American planes over Lebanon, you know, checking the people out. They had a bombing in Lebanon today, so everybody knows that's homeboy. They done had I don't know how many bombings and burnings in Syria and in Iran too. Okay, that means they in a panic. Probably they on the selection cycle. You know, hey man, it's only 90-something days to this election. And it don't look like our homeboy gonna get elected. And what's the name that just said he gonna reinstate the JCO. Whatever it is, it ain't gonna be what Don said, right? So the Zionists, remember how mad they get. The Zionists in Saudi Arabia, good God Almighty, those boys be foaming at the mouth. Anyway. Grand strategy, flawless psycho-negroid implementation. Never, I'm telling you, it's good stuff. Psycho-negroid implementation. The grand strategy, what we say grand strategy, flawless psycho-negroid implementation. Remember they got 3 classifications of people in the old days. Cascoid, Mongoloid, and Negroid. Remember them? That is terrible. But that's what they said. So you know what classification we fell in. You use what Allah give you, and remember, the system is so mean that if you don't keep a good attitude, he'll make you mad. That's what happened for a little while in Oakland. He was making me mad, and I turned mean in just a short time. Because that's what, you know, harassing people like my friend was a dog trainer. So they have some guy making fun of the dog, you know what I mean? And he's holding the dog where And the other guy's teasing the dog to make him mean, you know. And that's what they do to us. They tease us. They make fun of us. So we'll get mad. Not the brothers. This is special. The grand strategy, flawless, psycho-negroid implementation. So we're going to say it's a big deal. Yeah, it's just nice. Global strategy for Islam. Rise to the occasion of our time. This is not the time to intellectualize or simply inform. The global revolution is here, yes indeed. Grand strategy for America. Characteristics of plan. Goal clarity, goal difficulty, and goal commitment. So what we're doing, it has to be clear. Goal clarity. But in the goal clarity, we also have our self-image, our self-esteem intact. Because if we don't see ourselves doing it, whatever it is, we won't be able to do it. And then if I don't see you being able to do it, then I'm not going to invest in any authority or any, you know what I mean? Because the niggas can't do it, right? That's what okay. Characteristic of the plan. Goal clarity, so it's clear. That's what we've been on. Goal difficulty, now we're trying to go somewhere. How, like we were saying downtown, how difficult is it going to be to get there? And then, goal commitment, how much commitment is it going to take, right? With all these things falling in order, so that's goal commitment. Would you turn just a pinch? Visionary, missionary, a new world of global harmony. Implementation of the plan, obstacles and obstacles. 800-year club. What the heck is that? 800-year club. Maybe the Irish, they fought for 800 years against the 800-year club. We don't want to be that protracted. 800 years. We'll figure it out in a minute. Hindsight, insight, and foresight. Hindsight is, of course, to look at the past. We talk about how we study the people and the times of the past. Insight is contemporary, how you see into what's going on today. Okay, so we can analyze how accurate are we about whatever we talk about, and whatever we come up with is fine. And then foresight is to be able to look into the future. And then how accurate is our analysis about the future? How many times do they do exactly what we say they're going to do? That's pretty serious. Okay. I'm sorry to say that our people are not any good at that. They don't do that at all. They just kiss the Europeans behind. Anything boss man to say, it's all right. But we're not going to argue with them about it. Distractions of property, we'll go into that later. Yes. Collective insanity, republic, focus, unified, Limitless dream, unrestrained optimism. I think we talked about that. There's a couple of fiqh I wanted to mention. The fiqh of extreme circumstances. We won't talk about what it is. Fiqh of science fiction. The fiqh of science fiction. The fiqh of non-human warfare. Robots, maybe next year, maybe in a couple of hours, an old robot comes strolling in here, chopping off heads. That's just the way they're going to fix that up, right? So we have to be prepared for that. The fiqh of non-human warfare. We have to be, get ready for that. So what do? Just say, hey, I'll see you later, robot, and run off? Or what are you going to do? Find out what spray some water on him somewhere, and it'll make his joints, you know, whatever it is, if human made it, he gonna have some, he gonna have some flaws. Yeah, it don't make no difference. If a human made it, another human can stop it. Unrestrained optimism, the fiqh of counter-espionage. Fiqh of counter-espionage. That's one. How much spying can we do on, on people that are automatically spying on us? The fiqh of coincidence, that is the fiqh of circumstances. Coincidence, you know, we have certain writings, we talk about coincidence and it just happens to come out like that all the time. Okay. Do give your children vision, mission for their world. This is just personal. I believe Allah trained me to clean up global snitches. But we take it easy on snitches. They only snitches because that's what they went, you know, they got whatever it was. So they think it's all right. If we hold on, believe me, if we hold on long enough and stick to this so-called goodness, some of them will come around. It's okay. We have always been ahead of the curve because of the past. 30 close years, Asi, Bangladesh, Rashid bin Isa, Sri Lanka. In other words, you know what Dr. Siddiqui said, Imam Musa is a collection of all that's good. I didn't hear that. I said, dog, Doc. No wonder they got acting funny right after that. They really, instead of them saying, well, bruh, look like you're really impressed, because Dr. Siddiqui was impressed. He was really impressed, you know. And we used to walk all the time. Actually, I used to tease him a lot, you know, because he had one coat that had a pad. He wore it for 30 years that I know of. You know them professor coats with the patch on it right here? And same thing with his shoes. His shoes, you know, when you used to take your shoes to the shoe shop and they'd put a new sole on them and stuff like that, he had a big, thick sole. So I would tease him. I said, yeah. But the stuff we would talk about evidently was different than everybody else. Because I was always, well, now, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? He would answer some of the things. And I remember I was telling you all about one time I asked him in one of the programs, I said, what method of dawah will we use? He said, well, I use the random sowing method. You know, I throw seeds out everywhere. Some it fall on good land. And that's the way he was looking at me. Hey, this stuff fell on good land. Okay, we had this game before, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui improved a whole lot. Our knowledge of how all this stuff is, the whole international Muslim show, he did, hey man, I can see why he, well, I'm not gonna say I don't know why they would turn on their brother, but that's okay. But he did say what he said, so they should have been, hey man, that's fine. You got the game now, brother. We with you. Hey man, the next time I came over there, they was acting funny and doing stuff. I said, man. And when we would be with a leader or ambassador, and they would be telling him, you guys got to do, talking about Crescent, you have to tighten that up. You have to do this, that, and another. And I'd be looking at them like, tell them I have the strategic management under conditions of repression. I'm doing that already. They wouldn't say nothing. They just wouldn't say nothing. I said, man, this is cold-blooded. These is my homeboys. That's when I knew there was something fishy in Denmark. That's what I'm saying. Something fishy in Denmark. That was a place, a nice, they knew I liked fish. So in Botswana, you know, the brothers, they own these nice places. So one of them was called Something Fishy. You know, Something Fishy. So when we got up to the place, he said, this is something fishy. I said, what is it? You know, like, there's so much stuff going on. And then I looked at the side, so, oh, yeah. Because you get used to stuff being fishy. You know what I mean? The white folks say it's a nigger in the wood pile somewhere. Of course, they don't say that much. Books, fragrances, captains of industry. So, boss man, to be saying, do you think we will allow 1, 2, or 3 Negroes to challenge our global authority? Of course you will, because hell, you don't have much of that left. The global authority? What is wrong? You know, you can say what you want. I'm still surprised. I mean, I prayed, oh Allah. Y'all had to remind me that I prayed, oh, just make a fool out of, you know. But I'm surprised, still surprised, when they do what they do. They done shot down a plane years ago in Bandar Abbas, and then they gonna go and harass a passenger plane. The whole world know that's stupid. You know what I mean? And boss man been bullying everybody. So, hey, okay, unending Star Trek, go beyond, okay. Every episode is a case study. Yeah, that's definitely right, a case study, and we do that on a regular basis. Star Trek, we go beyond their jurisdiction. We're already beyond their jurisdiction. We're just beyond their jurisdiction. We have broken the cycle of fear and hopelessness. We have shown that individuals and small groups can stand up to the system and survive and thrive. So we have done that already. We way into that. We must teach the science of political evolution. We'll get into that later. Political evolution. I'm not gonna blow my shot. That's one of the songs in Hamilton. It's the same as Rise Up, and I'm not gonna blow my shot. I'd watched it because the kids watch it and they can relate to that. So I tell them about our stuff. It's like I used to tell them we're Muslim Rangers because she used to like Power Rangers, Sakina did. But I said, oh, we're Muslim Rangers. Yep. King, Gandhi, Mandela. What did they all do? They forgave the people. Can you imagine? Okay, Above ground, this is important before we close. When we came back to America, we knew that we was not going to work underground. I mean, that was a long, long time ago. But underground, you could only bomb and blow up things, and you'd be mad all the time. So we knew we was gonna work above ground, but we knew what the cost would be too. Working above ground, good God Almighty. Keep the system in upper world, higher world, it is less experience in your environment. If we can keep them up there, they used to have a saying, watch them people, they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Like if we mess with Khadijah and them, y'all lying, this, that, and another, right? They'd get us down in that mudslinging, and they have more experience. They're comfortable down there. I have a limit on what I could say. I can't say anything. They don't have no limit, and they don't care. So if I got down there with them, they'd beat you with experience. That's true. You have to be careful about them people. Show how to use the weight of the system against itself. Compete in righteousness. Hey, man, we're on a roll. We just thank Allah for being here, and I think that might be. We don't have to sell wolf tickets much anymore. You know, just talking trash and all that. Because Boss Man is unbelievable. Let's see, act according to learn. If we keep, like we said when we go back to Oakland, we'll declare spiritual jihad. Because if we declare physical jihad, he has a lot of experience with physical stuff. In fact, he got a whole army and everything out there. But he's very weak in spiritualism. So always attack your enemy where he's weakest, not where he's strongest. Thank y'all very much. Akula kauli hadha, astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Yes, go ahead. Okay, yeah. Alhamdulillah. Right. Imam Jamil, yeah. Right, yeah, go ahead. So he want me to stay a little more focused? No. Right. Oh, she. No, well, that's right. That's right. It was one of the, when I was younger, the brothers, Iranian brothers, had a speech class at the University of Kansas, and he took my lecture. Maybe it was 82, 83. And of course, at that time, I spoke more, kind of fired up, kind of like the khutbah on Eid, that kind of, but even more in those days. Because when you're younger. So anyway, the professor, he said, this guy is really good. He said he lays out what he's going to talk about, and then he goes all around the world and come right back to where he started. Well, it ain't like that now. Nigga get out there now. He said, not much, but you know what I mean? Every now and then. He said, well, that's fine, But that's a skill. I'll try to stay more focused. that's why I try to have the stuff in front of me, uh, so that I'm going right off the, kind of in a numbered way. But every now and then you do ease on off into the woods a little bit. But we'll try to do that less, because that takes a lot of line and a lot of time, and it could, sometimes it adds to it sometimes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it adds a lot to it. Yeah. Right. Right. How it connects. Yeah. Yeah. No, alhamdulillah. Hey, man, when I read those As-Sabiquns, I'm guaranteed that somebody else wrote them boys. I said, couldn't have wrote that stuff. Because it seems kind of deep, like, you know what I mean? It does. It seems like really educated and like studied and rehearsed. And of course, you think of yourself like that a little bit, but that stuff is not bad. It's not bad, and it's clear. It's concise, and it's well researched. I look forward to the next stages of collecting all of that stuff together, printing it, reprinting it, patching here, patching there. This is going to be a good stage, inshallah. Is it any more? Okay, alhamdulillah.